Okay, well, I get a lot of review requests for Promised Land, and a lot of people recommend it as well and say, oh, you need to try Promised Land. I have tried it many times. Promised Land Dairy is a national brand in the United States. It's available probably in every state. I don't know about Alaska and Hawaii necessarily, but hey, this is going to be all about Promised Land. It's the Promised Land episode. For a little bit of history, Promised Land started out, I think like back in 1987 in Floresville, Texas, as a local dairy there. Used to bottle in glass even. You can find old glass bottles of Promised Land, which are really neat. More recently, in 2009, the brand was sold to Grupo Lala, a big, huge Mexican dairy conglomerate. And since then, production facilities, I think in 2018, have moved up to Colorado. I bought these two in Western North Carolina here at Food Lion, and the code 0807. 08 is the state of Colorado, so 07 is the dairy plant within Colorado. It's in Colorado Springs, so that's where this stuff particularly came from. I recommend that you check the codes on your dairy products to see where they came from. So anyway, production was moved up to Colorado to a newer facility. The new plant enabled them to do ESL, which is extended shelf life products. Kind of an insider term. It's not one that you necessarily hear as a consumer because it's not like it's not a sexy sounding term. Hey, we're making this milk so that it lasts on the shelf longer, so we can distribute it and it stays fresh longer. There are some trade-offs with that. This is ultra pasteurized and homogenized milk. We'll talk about the distinction there a little bit later because I think it is important. Okay, but it's a very popular milk. It's all Jersey cows, which is great. Jersey cows obviously have a higher butter fat percentage than other breeds, and they're very efficient dairy producers for their size. And this is Midnight Chocolate, both the 2% reduced fat as the lighter colored bottle. So it is maybe a little bit ironic that the lighter container, the milk itself is actually darker than the whole milk in the darker container, if that makes any sense. Doesn't really matter. Ingredient-wise, it's very much the same. With the exception of 2% versus whole milk. So they should taste similarly. Let's find out. Okay, start with the 2%. Oh, okay. Well, it is chocolatey. It's sweet first. It's very sweet, actually. And I think this was my beef with it in the times I've reviewed it. It's not, again, it doesn't taste bad at all. I'm going to be nitpicky here, but it is super sweet. It is very chocolatey, and it's thick too. I mean, to me it feels, I guess, thicker than what a reduced fat chocolate milk could or should be. So that is probably a plus for some people. For me, I could do without it. I don't mind thickness if it's kind of warranted by the cream content. In this application, it does feel a little bit forced for me. Yeah, I can see why most people like this stuff. Again, for me, it still leads with sweet. It's a bit much. But it does have that kind of ice cream flavor. They did mention that Promised Land Dairy back in the day was originally an ice cream dairy and that they used the ice cream recipe for their chocolate milk. I don't know if it's still the same recipe, but it does have that ice cream sort of flavor to it. So how's the whole compare? To me, it doesn't have the same exact flavor, even though I'm sure compositionally it's probably similar. Okay, so there's a less upfront strong sweetness to this. It's still plenty sweet. But it's more of a slower burn on the cocoa flavor. It doesn't punch you in the face so much. It's still there and very present, but it fades kind of nicely into the cream. I guess it's just a more luxurious feeling chocolate milk than the 2%, which seemed a little bit heavy-handed, like it had something to prove. The thickness, it doesn't feel any more or less thick than the 2%, but the thickness for the whole milk feels more true to me and it feels more authentic, and it's very good. This is good stuff. I mean, no question about it. This is definitely one of the better national brands in the United States, and I should do a video soon about the best national brands in the US, and this would be one of them. Okay, so in saying that, Promised Land, in my opinion, is one of the better national brands of chocolate milk. Here's I guess a side-by-side test of Trumoo, which again is available, as far as I know, at least in the lower 48, pretty much ubiquitously. And here it is. It's quite a bit more pale and kind of colorless relative to a lot of other chocolate milks. And by comparison, the taste is also very bland, very comparatively bland, especially when you have it side by side with the Promised Land. A very stark difference. Even the Promised Land 2% compares favorably with the whole Trumoo, which you can taste just how soulless this is and devoid of flavor. On its own, if you're just having it with lunch or whatever, probably tastes fine. But compared with a more premium chocolate milk, Trumoo doesn't compare very favorably. And yeah, I've done a Trumoo episode, so I've kind of beaten that to death to some extent. You can check that out if you're a Trumoo fan, hater, or in between. And I do recommend trying chocolate milk side by side because, or in like a blind taste test sort of a thing. It's always very eye-opening, and you get to see like the differences right next to each other. They're always a lot more apparent. So is Promised Land the best chocolate milk? Not in my opinion. It's very good. I rated the whole stuff about an 8.5, which is, you know, a decent amount of room for improvement. Again, taste is subjective, but one of the things I definitely prefer in a chocolate milk is it to be non-homogenized. And what that means is sometimes called creamline chocolate milk. It's non-homogenized, means that the fat globules in the milk are not broken up into really small pieces. It's left to be how it is out of the cow, which lends itself to a much more buttery, kind of creamy taste. We've got Wholesome Country Creamery here, which is a grass-fed, non-homogenized chocolate milk from Hamptonville, North Carolina. Yeah, and for me, that compares favorably to the Promised Land dairy because it may not have as strong as a cocoa punch and as strong as a sweetness, but there's dimensionality to the cream. And dimensionality, I mean, there's that grass-fed sort of wildness to it. Got a much more buttery, sort of a sustain to the flavor. It's just way more satisfying, especially in the aftertaste. Oh, yeah. I don't know if other people's opinions would necessarily concur. That's what I like. I like that tie to where it came from, so to speak. I like that grassy flavor. I like the non-homogenized texture and the buttery cream towards the back end. Your opinion might differ. If you like a thick, strongly sweet, strongly chocolatey chocolate milk, Promised Land might be for you. It certainly does taste good. I can't say it doesn't. And also just a comment on the midnight chocolate that insinuates it's dark. I don't consider this to be a dark chocolate flavor. For my taste, it's too sweet to be a dark chocolate flavor in my opinion, but it is a strong chocolate flavor for sure. It's pretty much right down the middle, nice and strong like a lot of folks would probably like. So this is good stuff. Again, I'm looking forward to doing the best of the national brands in the U.S. Promised Land will certainly be on that list. And well, until then, this was the Promised Land episode. Thanks for checking it out. It's available probably in every state. I don't know about Alaska and Hawaii. Okay, well, Promised Land says that they don't have a store locator by zip code. So they say that they've got a list of the stores that they supply. There are Safeways in Alaska and Hawaii, so let's find out. Oh, okay, yeah, I just wanted to check to see if you guys had a certain brand of chocolate milk. It's called Promised Land. Yeah, Promised Land, P-R-O-M-I-S-D-D, yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Just Darigold Organic and Nesquik. Thanks very much, John. I appreciate you checking. Hi, I had a question for the dairy department, if it wasn't an option on the menu. Yeah, it was just whether or not the store carries Promised Land chocolate milk. Okay, no problem. Thanks for checking. Yeah, sure. I'm just checking to see if you guys have Promised Land chocolate milk. Oh, no problem. What kinds do you have? I mean, please don't check if you don't know. Okay. Yep. Oh, nice. Okay. It's a little one. It's a good one though. Thanks very much for checking. I appreciate it. Bye. Negative. Sounds like, I mean, it's a spot check, but neither Alaska nor Hawaii seems to have it in the Safeway stores anyway. Hey, if you're in Alaska or Hawaii and you've seen Promised Land, get in touch with me. I'd be curious to see where you're able to find it out there. It's actually a lot to drink at once. God, I'm gonna go home and think about what I did.